Jessii Vee, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Play-Doh people. I know. This channel gets weirder and weirder. Although it sounds funny and goofy, I promise you, it is one of the scariest things I've ever heard. Get ready. Before I get started though, I have a really exciting announcement. So last week I told you who our top 3 YANA schools were, and today I'm going to be announcing the winner. That school has just gone above and beyond. So let's give a drum roll, please, for Betts Elementary. This school just continues to impress me and make me so proud. They've made friendship bracelets to raise funds for YANA. They've made cheer up bags for classroom teachers. They've had a donation drive for kids in foster care. They've collaborated with art teachers to create this really cool wing mural. So each student made a feather and it's basically to create unity. They've had a kindness bingo board, hallway decorations, I can go on and on. So thank you Betts Elementary for making such a positive change, and I'm so excited to meet virtually with your group. Now in second place we have College of Adaptive Arts, and in third place we have Mount Ararat High School. All 3 of you guys are heroes, and so are all of the other schools who started YANA groups this year. I'm so excited for all of you to keep going, and if you watching right now would like to start a group in your school for next year, definitely reach out to our YANA coordinator at the email address yana@jessiivee.com and she can get you sorted for your next steps. And we've just had such a great year, so thank you guys so much. Alright guys, so we're about to get right into this creepy Play-Doh people video. But because we're talking about all these exciting things, I have one more thing to tell you. We now have 2 new light up plushies. This is a unicorn, this one is a little dragon. And as you can see, their eyes light up as well. I love them so much. These are limited time, so I will put a link down below in the description for you guys. And don't forget, $1 from every purchase goes towards Lyme disease research because we are partnered with the G. Magnotta Foundation. So a lot of cool stuff going on. Alright, so with that being said, let's jump right into today's video. The Play-Doh people. This is a story about a 10-year-old girl that had a very disturbing, reoccurring dream on an almost daily basis. Now this had been happening for a couple years, and she just could not figure out the meaning of it. Usually when you have a reoccurring dream, it's because you're thinking about something a lot, you're worried, you're stressed. Usually there's something deeper about it, but this girl literally could not figure out why she was having this dream. In the dream, she was walking down the street when she saw a dark alleyway with an ominous voice echoing her name inside of it. And then when she peered down the alleyway, she saw a small decorative door at the very end. She said it almost looked like it came out of like a medieval time period. So of course this made her very curious, so she would always walk down this alleyway in her dream. She'd go right up to this door and would start knocking on it. And when no one answered after a few minutes, she would take it upon herself to open it. The door led to yet another alleyway, but what was strange was that the world she had opened the door to was nighttime. It was like the exact mirror of her world. She was in the daytime and this other world was in nighttime. She exited the daylight to wander into this strange alternate world and was confused to see that it was almost a ghost town. There were no passing cars on the street, there was barely any people anywhere, and it was so quiet, unusually quiet. The people that she saw were far off in the distance and walked incredibly fast. So fast that she thought that she would not be able to catch up to them. Well, she finally got onto a steady trail of a man wearing this black rain jacket. He had his head down and was just looking at the sidewalk as he walked. So she ran over and tapped on his back and said, "Sir, do you know where this place is?" But he didn't answer. He just kept walking, completely ignoring her. So she asked him again and continued to tap on his back. Well, that's when he slowly turned around to reveal not a man's face, but a face that seemed to be formed out of Play-Doh. It had been pulled and stretched, and it made him look more like a creature than any sort of human being. In the dream, the girl would always scream and back away, and even though she had this dream so many times, it always felt like the first time seeing his face. And the thing would just stand there staring at her for a while before slowly turning back around and continuing his fast-paced walk. This thing would never ever speak. Then she would run down the street looking for anyone else who could help her. Then she saw this woman walking down the sidewalk past a bunch of stores with flickering neon signs. She grabbed her arm, and when the woman turned around, once again, she had a face molded from Play-Doh. And this cycle continued no matter who she ran up to. All their faces were messed up and warped. And the dream always ended with her running down the street, shouting for help, but no one would help her. In fact, no one even paid any attention to her. It just seemed like such a silly nightmare for her to be having every single night, and whenever she spoke to her friends or family about it, they would just laugh at her because when they heard Play-Doh faces, it sounded funny. But to her, the faces were not as funny as everyone thought. In fact, they were incredibly haunting. Finally, one day the dreams finally stopped. It was shortly after she turned 12 years old. But one day, while she was staying out of town with her grandmother, they were walking through the streets about to get groceries when this strong breeze suddenly went through her hair, and she could have sworn she heard her name whispered in the wind. On the way back from the grocery store, she noticed an alleyway that she hadn't seen on the way there, and her heart instantly dropped when she saw a small door at the very end of it. And to make matters worse and all too familiar, there were empty Play-Doh jars just littered throughout the alleyway. She told her grandma that this scene was just like her dream, and her grandma just laughed and said that the alleyway connected to a preschool, and that's why there must have been empty Play-Doh jars around. You know those preschool kids, they love their Play-Doh. So she just kept walking and went back to her grandma's house. But to this day, the girl still wonders what would have happened if she had opened that small door. Would it have been just like her dream? And that's how this story ends. It's really creepy, and it's kind of like you feel like it'd be funny seeing people with Play-Doh faces, but no. These images are super creepy. And the images that I just showed you in this video are actually like a trend that happened a few years ago where people were making like their Facebook profile pictures and stuff into Play-Doh faces. I think there was like an app or online thing that was doing that. So I think it was supposed to be funny, but in the context of this story, it's definitely not. All right, and the second story that I have is called Mrs. Big Eyes. There's a story about a little girl named Lauren who had an imaginary friend that she called Mrs. Big Eyes. Mrs. Big Eyes would eat breakfast with her, would ride the school bus with her, would go to ballet class with her. This little girl claimed that she would follow her everywhere. She claimed that Mrs. Big Eyes was a very tall lady with a black and red polka dot dress and completely black eyes. It kind of freaked her parents out, but they assumed that she would just grow out of it. And one day at school, Lauren's teacher was handing out jars of Play-Doh to all the kids and told them to sculpt something that they loved. Her teacher was saying that this was magic Play-Doh, and when they were done, all they had to do was blow on it 3 times and say, "Play-Doh of mine, here with me, come alive so I may see." Some of the kids sculpted their favorite animals, but Lauren knew exactly what she wanted to make. She wanted to make Mrs. Big Eyes. So she grabbed the red and black Play-Doh and began making her, and when she was done, she said the chant and showed the kid sitting next to her, and he was so horrified by what she made that he ran away crying. Lauren basically made what looked like a doll version of Mrs. Big Eyes. She took her art piece home and showed her mom, and she put it on the kitchen counter to display it. Now that evening, Lauren complained that she wasn't able to find Mrs. Big Eyes anywhere. All she had was this Play-Doh version of her imaginary friend, but she was saying that wasn't actually her. It was just a fake doll version. So her mom comforted her, put her to bed, and said that maybe Mrs. Big Eyes would come back in the morning. The next day when Lauren was at school, her mother kept getting startled by finding the Mrs. Big Eyes Play-Doh figure in different places around the house. And she literally thought she was crazy because it was literally just a Play-Doh sculpture. It shouldn't have been moving. Well, when Lauren came home from school, she ran over to the sculpture and put it up to her ear as if it was whispering to her. And then suddenly she proudly shouted,
"Mrs. Big Eyes didn't go away. She's right here."
And she lifted her doll sculpture up in the air. So obviously her imaginary friend had transferred into it, just like her teacher said it would. And that's the end of that story. So don't make Play-Doh dolls because they may come to life if you say this chant. Anyway, so guys, that is the end of today's video. If you want me to continue doing twisted nostalgia videos, give this video a thumbs up and let me know what you want me to do next down below. And if you would like one of the new light up dragons or unicorns, I have linked it down below. But I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!